You think you know Kentucky. Bourbon, horses, maybe Mammoth Cave if you're feeling adventurous. But the most interesting parts of this state are the ones people drive right past. A city built inside a meteor crater. A town the government deliberately drowned. A doctor who moved dying patients underground and killed every single one of them. A nighttime rainbow that exists nowhere else in the Western Hemisphere. 14 places in Kentucky that most people have never heard of, and probably should have found a lot sooner. Let's get into it. Number 14, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. In 1900, Louisville had the highest tuberculosis death rate of any city in the United States. The city's low elevation and Ohio River wetlands made it a perfect breeding ground for the bacteria, and officials needed somewhere to put the sick. A 2-story wooden hospital opened on a hilltop in 1910 for 50 patients. The disease filled it almost immediately. By 1926, a 5-story brick replacement held over 400. There was no cure. Treatment was sunlight, fresh air, and bed rest. Patients were rolled outside even in winter, sometimes found covered in snow. Experimental procedures included placing rubber balloons inside diseased lungs to stretch them. Bodies were transported out through a 500-foot underground tunnel called the body chute to avoid upsetting the other patients. 8,000 people died there. Streptomycin eliminated tuberculosis in the region, and the hospital closed in 1961. It briefly reopened as a geriatric facility called Woodhaven, which the state shut down in 1982 for patient neglect and medical malpractice. A later owner proposed building the world's tallest statue of Jesus on the roof. That did not happen. Today, it is a haunted attraction and historical tour site. The most famous building in Louisville housed thousands of dying people, then neglected the elderly, then had a giant Jesus planned for the roof. That is a full life for one building. Number 13, McHarg's Mill and the Millstone Collection, Levi Jackson Wilderness Road. State Park in Laurel County preserves a section of the original Wilderness Road, the route Daniel Boone helped blaze in 1775, that carried hundreds of thousands of settlers into Kentucky. It also quietly holds the largest collection of millstones in the United States. Over 200 stones gathered from defunct mills across the state, sitting in an outdoor display next to a replica gristmill. Most visitors walk straight past it to the swimming pool. The park also sits near the site of the Magnet Station Massacre of 1792, one of the final violent confrontations on the Wilderness Road, occurring months before Kentucky became the 15th state. The largest millstone collection in America is in a park most people visit for the pool. That is not a criticism of the pool. Number 12, Mammoth Cave's tuberculosis experiment. In 1842, a physician named Dr. John Croghan purchased Mammoth Cave for around $10,000. His theory was that the cave's constant 54-degree temperature and still air could cure tuberculosis. He built stone huts inside the cave and moved a group of tuberculosis patients in to live there, underground, year-round, in the dark. The cave air was not therapeutic. Every patient either died or left in worse condition than when they arrived. The ruins of those huts, called the consumptive cabins, are still visible on certain guided tours today. Dr. John Croghan died of tuberculosis in 1849. The ruins of his experiment are now a tourist feature inside one of the most visited attractions in the state, which is exactly where they belong. Number 11, Natural Bridge and Red River Gorge. Most Kentuckians have no idea their state has an internationally recognized rock climbing destination. The Red River Gorge in Powell County contains over 1,000 established climbing routes that draw climbers from Europe and Japan on a regular basis. On any given weekend, a significant portion of the people on those cliff faces flew in from somewhere else. The gorge almost did not survive. In the 1960s and 70s, the Army Corps of Engineers proposed damming the Red River, which would have flooded the entire canyon. A decade-long legal and public fight stopped the dam in 1976. Kentucky nearly flooded one of its best assets to build something it did not end up needing. The gorge is still there and generates millions in tourism annually. Number 10, Berea College in Madison County has charged no tuition since 1892. Every student receives a full scholarship funded by the endowment, currently valued at around $25,500 per year, and works on campus at least 10 hours a week in exchange for room and board. The school was founded in 1855 by abolitionist Reverend John G. Fee as the first racially integrated co-educational college in the American South. In a slave state, 10 years before the end of the Civil War. In 1904, the Kentucky legislature passed a day law banning interracial education statewide. Berea was forced to segregate. When the law was amended in 1950, Berea was the first Kentucky college to reintegrate. Carter G. Woodson, the historian who founded Black History Month, is a Berea alumnus. Guests at the student-staffed campus hotel have included Henry Ford, Eleanor Roosevelt, and the Dalai Lama. Founded by abolitionists in a slave state, forced to segregate by its own legislature, and still the only tuition-free liberal arts college in America. That combination does not get nearly enough attention. Number 9, the Futuro House. On a residential street in Covington, Kentucky, there is a building that looks exactly like a flying saucer that landed between two normal houses and never left. Locations. Fewer than 100 were ever built before the 1973 oil crisis killed production. Fiberglass and plastic structures are expensive to heat, which is a significant flaw in a ski cabin. The company dissolved, the unit scattered. The Covington example on Wright Street is one of only a handful surviving in the United States. It is a private residence. It sits among conventional houses in a way that gets stranger the longer you look at it. A Finnish architect designed a helicopter deployable ski cabin. The oil crisis ended it within 5 years. Divers ended up on a street in northern Kentucky. There is a version of history where that does not happen. This is not that version. Number 8, Wigwam Village Inn. Number 2. In Cave City, Kentucky, there is a motel where you sleep inside a giant concrete teepee. The man who built it got paid in mailed dimes. Frank Redford opened Wigwam Village Inn Number 2 in 1937 along United States Route 31 West near Mammoth Cave. 15 guest rooms shaped like teepees, incorrectly labeled wigwams, which Redford did not appear bothered by. He franchised the design across the country under a royalty arrangement where coin-operated radios were installed in every room, and every dime inserted for 30 minutes of listening was physically mailed back to Redford as payment. 7 locations were built on this basis. Only 2 survive, Cave City and Holbrook, Arizona on Route 66. The Cave City location is on the National Register of Historic Places and still operates as a motel. You can book a room tonight. The coin-operated radios are gone. Number 7, Cumberland Falls. There's only one place in the Western Hemisphere where you can watch a rainbow form at night on a predictable schedule. It is in southeastern Kentucky and most people drive past it. River, 125 feet wide. On clear nights near a full moon, the mist from the base catches the moonlight and produces a moonbow, a rainbow made by moonlight instead of sunlight. The Kentucky historical marker on site states it is the only regularly occurring moonbow in the Western Hemisphere. Victoria Falls produces one as well, making this one of only 2 places on Earth where it happens on schedule. Moonbow viewing dates are published in advance. The park is open year-round. Kentucky has the only predictable moonbow in the Western Hemisphere, the state's least marketed features. That is a significant missed opportunity. Number 6, Paradise. Kentucky Paradise was a small farming community in Muhlenberg County. Families had lived there for generations along the Green River. In the 1960s, the Tennessee Valley Authority built the Paradise Fossil Plant nearby, one of the largest coal-fired power plants in the world at the time. Air quality deteriorated. The TVA bought out every property in town and demolished it. Paradise ceased to exist. In 1971, folk singer John Prine released a song called Paradise, written about his father's hometown. It became one of the most enduring American folk songs of the decade and made the phrase Mr. Peabody's Coal Train permanent in the American roots music vocabulary. The plant was decommissioned between 2017 and 2020. John Prine died in April of 2020. The town is gone. The plant is gone. The song is still here, which says something about the relative durability of industry versus folk music. Number 5, Pope Lick Trestle. There is a railroad bridge outside Louisville that people have been dying on for decades, not because of any structural problem, but because of a goat man. The Pope Lick Trestle is a 772-foot Norfolk Southern Railroad bridge in the Fisherville neighborhood of eastern Jefferson County, 90 feet above Pope Lick Creek, with active freight trains crossing it multiple times daily. The legend holds that a half-man, half-goat creature lures people onto the tracks using hypnosis or voice mimicry. Origin stories vary. An escaped circus freak, a farmer who made a deal with the devil, or a story invented by local mothers to keep children off an active railroad bridge, which is the most plausible explanation. In 2016, a 26-year-old woman from Ohio was killed by a train while searching for the monster. A 15-year-old was killed there in 2019. The bridge has an 8-foot fence, trespassing signs, and active freight traffic. There's a gift shop nearby with a monster statue and an escape game. It is open on weekends. Number 4, Birmingham, Kentucky. There's a town at the bottom of Kentucky Lake. It did not get there by accident. Birmingham was a small farming community in Marshall County on the Tennessee River. In 1938, the Tennessee Valley Authority began building Kentucky Dam. When it finished in 1944, creating the largest man-made reservoir in the world at the time, Birmingham went underwater. Residents were told to move. Many left behind whatever they could not carry. Birmingham was not alone. Entire communities now sit beneath Lake Cumberland, Dale Hollow, Rough River Lake, Green River Lake, and Nolan Lake. During low water periods, the outlines of old Birmingham surface at Birmingham Point. Foundations, road traces, structural remnants. One of the only places in the state where you can see the physical remains of a community that was intentionally drowned. Kentucky Lake is a popular recreation destination. People boat and fish over what used to be someone's front yard. Most of them have no idea. Number 3, Big Bone Lick Thomas Jefferson sent 2 separate expeditions to a swamp in northern Kentucky to collect mammoth bones. Someone had already looted most of them before either one arrived. Big Bone Lick in Boone County is a marshy area where natural salt and sulfur springs attracted animals for thousands of years. The soft ground trapped many of them. Their bones were preserved. The animals were woolly mammoths, mastodons, giant ground sloths, stag moose, and ancient bison. Jefferson dispatched Meriwether Lewis in 1803 to collect samples. When Lewis arrived, landowner David Ross had shut the site down. Too many people hauling things off. Lewis worked from a local physician's private collection instead. Jefferson sent William Clark back in 1807. Clark removed over 300 bones and sent the president an 11-page description. Jefferson donated specimens to a museum in Paris. The site is officially the birthplace of American vertebrate paleontology. It has a free museum, a live bison herd, and sulfur springs that still smell like rotten eggs. Jefferson obsessed over this place. Lewis and Clark both stopped here, and it changed how scientists understood extinction. It also has a name that guarantees half the visitors show up for no reason other than to photograph the sign. Number 2, Middlesboro. Every person who has ever lived in Middlesboro, Kentucky has lived inside a meteor crater. For the first 77 years of the town's existence, nobody knew. Middlesboro was founded in 1889 as a coal and iron center in a natural circular valley near Cumberland Gap. Nobody questioned why the valley was so perfectly round. In 1966, geologists confirmed that a meteor had struck the site over 300 million years ago, carving a basin approximately 3 miles in diameter. The ground beneath the city contains shatter cones and shock quartz, signatures found only at confirmed impact sites. You can walk the streets of Middlesboro today, and you are walking the floor of a crater formed 300 million years before humans existed. Most visitors drive straight through to Cumberland Gap without stopping. The crater is not going anywhere. Number 1, Bernheim Forest giant trolls. In 2019, a Kentucky forest installed 3 enormous wooden trolls. They were meant to be temporary. 500,000 people showed up. The trolls stayed. Bernheim Arboretum and Research Forest is a 16,000-acre forest in Bullitt County, founded in 1929 by Isaac Wolf Bernheim, a German-Jewish immigrant who arrived in America in 1867 with $4, made a fortune in bourbon, and donated the land to Kentucky as a public gift. For most of its history, it was a respected but modestly attended regional green space. In 2019, Bernheim commissioned Danish artist Thomas Dambo to install 3 giant troll sculptures built from reclaimed wood found on site. The tallest, named Little Elena, stands 22 feet. The installation was meant to be temporary. Attendance surged. People drove from neighboring states to find them. The trolls became permanent. Isaac Bernheim gave 16,000 acres to Kentucky in 1929. It took 3 wooden trolls 90 years later to get people to actually show up. He would probably find that funny. So the next time someone tells you Kentucky is bourbon, horses, and Mammoth Cave, they are leaving out the meteor crater city, the drowned town, the doctor who killed his patients underground, the only nighttime rainbow in the Western Hemisphere, and the wooden trolls that finally convinced 500,000 people to visit a forest that had been there since 1929. There are places like this all over the state. Most of them are not on any billboard. If you know a Kentucky spot I missed, drop it in the comments. And subscribe for more of this.